Hi.
Hi.
Thank you guys so much for coming and listening to me talk. Sometimes I don't like to listen to other people talk, but thank you all for lending me your ears for a little bit. So I think I've met most of you and we've been able to talk. But my name's Nava Levenson, and I'm a Richmond, Virginia-based artist. So a little more about me. I just graduated in May from James Madison, where I got a degree, a BFA in sculpture. And sculpture, but really what I do is installation, performance, and social practice-based work. And so I guess I'll start with saying that for me, art has not been always about beauty, which is how I think most artists eventually at a young age start getting into making art, beautiful picture making. And to me, art has been a lot about curiosity and sparking conversations with people, being able to talk about things that didn't exist until they existed visually. And so I guess I'll back up and tell you a story. So last summer, I was doing a work-study program at Aramont School of Arts and Crafts. You guys might be familiar.
Yes.
Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So I was working in their kitchen in order to pay for classes, which, side note, is like the best way to engage with the community, being able to work and serve them. But so I was working in the kitchen and I was taking a class that I was really excited about. Let's see, the instructor was an artist from Chicago named Jerry Beam. And if you don't know him, you should definitely look up his work. So Jerry makes, he crochets, but he's doing work with materials that have really rich connotations or histories. And so one of the materials he's using is old American flags. He'll strip them and crochet them into new, he'll crochet them into new picture planes and new compositions. Another thing he does is he'll strip post-consumer plastic bags and crochet them into these beautiful flower forms. So kind of like reclaiming that material as something that is now positive for the environment. And so I'm taking this class with him, and I was really, really excited because the way he uses materials and the way he crochets is just so not traditional. And everyone I'm sitting in this class with are very interested in learning the best kind of stitch and how to do these really complicated things, and they're really wanting to dive into find lace work and crocheting in a very traditional, rigorous way. Whereas I'm like, okay, I'm getting bored here. I've been crocheting and crocheting. What else is there? There has to be something a little more interesting. So one night we had spaghetti for dinner, and I was like, this is linear and flexible. Why can't I crochet this? So I brought it into class the next day. I boiled the pot and brought it in. And I was sitting on, the work study students had the back seats and the falling apart chairs.
Third class.
So I'm in the back and I'm crocheting my pasta. I'm putting lunch down on the table. And these women that are in the class with me are looking at me like, what is she doing? And they're looking at each other and pointing, and they're like, it's food. She's crocheting pasta. It's so weird. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's weird. This is an experimental crochet class. Whatever. And so they keep looking at me, and to get a rise out of them, I decided to start eating them. Just to see what they do, because I'm like, these people are sitting at oh, I'm crazy for crocheting it. Okay, what are you going to do if I eat it? And of course there's all these gasps, and they're like, what are you doing? Oh my gosh. But when I ate that pasta, I was doing it to get a rise out of them, but really I was really shockingly aware of my own labor. There it was in my mouth. I could feel the crochet stitch, and it was just breaking apart in my mouth, and all my work was gone. I just ate my own labor, and it was so weird. And I was just like, this is strange sensation. So anyway, I finished my summer, I went back to school. I told my professor, I was like, I'm crocheting a piece of pasta, and it was really weird. And he was like, oh, run with that, figure out what that's all about. And so I spent my whole thesis year doing crochet pasta-based performance pieces and interactive installations. So I had a workshop one day where I invited people in, taught them to crochet, and I was making my own fresh pasta in the gallery space. And I invited people in to crochet, and they filled up these trays with all their work through like the 2-hour session. Each person had a little tray. It was like everything they did that day, and we dried them out, and 2 days later, I invited everyone back, except I boiled the noodles, and I started serving them to people. And I would serve them and say, like, this pasta was crocheted for you by so-and-so, because they all had name tags. And then everyone would look at that person and be like, oh my God, like, you made this for me, you know? And there's this weird, like, appreciation towards them. It was like a very conscious eating experience. And so from there, I went on to do a project where I made a mobile kitchen, and I went out on the street in like our court square, and I was having people order made-to-order pasta dishes. And so they had like crochet dishes, and you could pick your size hook that you used, or like how many. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that many stitches with them. And so I would make them custom, and I'd make it in front of them, give it to them in this tiny little cup. And everyone was like, I can't eat this. Oh my gosh, like this is so precious, you know? And it was really interesting to me to interact with the non-art world through that project. So I've been doing these performances, these social experiments, all this stuff, and I was like, how does this project like sum itself up visually in like something I could like send into a juried show or put in a gallery or something I can walk away from? So I decided, I was like, okay, how can I make the actual product hold its own, you know, without me, without the workshop. And so I decided to come up with this project that I've been working on since graduation, and I'm really excited for my time at Zool because it is so hard to like force yourself to sit and crochet pasta when you have like a million other things and a new apartment and a cat, and you know, so it was so nice to have this relaxed time. And so in this project, what I'm really interested in is the consumption of labor, boiled down and boiled. Anyway.
Har.
Yeah.
As it were.
So I'm really interested in the consumption of labor, and what that means to me is we're constantly consuming other people's labor without knowing it or without thinking about it. When we wear clothes, like somebody had to make this or make the machine that made it, and everything in our world is made, yet we don't treat it like that. We don't hang it on a wall or put it on a pedestal and give it the same appreciation we do fine art. So that's one thing I'm interested in with this project, is the juxtaposition of like the everyday object and the fine art object. So I'm trying to create like a hybrid object. And let's see, so I've sort of started to think about the value of an object broken down into 2 parts. There's material and there's labor. And so I'm interested in, okay, if you have like the finest quality material and best artisans making it, obviously that is a higher object, you know? And obviously, same goes for lower and lower. So I wanted to mix match that and unbalance the scale. So I decided to start using this great value brand pasta, 69 cents a box at Walmart. I'm sure we're all familiar. I left the boxes out if you guys want to hold that product and look at the ingredients, because you won't recognize a single one of them. And so this is the cheapest, lowest grade pasta, and the reason pasta is important is not only because it's linear and flexible, but because this is like the first thing everyone learns to make when they're, 11 or 12, you know? It's the easiest like instant meal, and obviously we're familiar with that in the sense of like instant ramen packets. So that's the material. I'm choosing the cheapest material, lowest cost, and really kind of sketchy ingredients. And then I'm partnering that with this rigorous or intense labor. And I'm sitting here like maybe 8 hours a day crocheting pasta, hunched over. Also feel free to interrupt me if anyone has a question or comment. Okay. So I'm partnering the cheap material with the strenuous labor. And I'm interested to see like like, does that change the way we value things? Because that object still is what it is. It's still a strand of 69-cent great value pasta. And what I've done to it, does that give it more value? Like, obviously, because it's like, but how much value? And where does each person draw their line? So this brings me to sort of the bigger proposal that I'm trying to make around this work. I'd like to propose, I'm thinking of a gallery space right now, one in Richmond, but I'm interested to also see what this project is like outside the gallery in a different context. So I'm proposing to set up walls in a gallery, emulate aisles in grocery stores, and I'm going to put some bad fluorescence in there and make it really, I don't know, I'm interested to see what I can do with smell. Also, like, how does a grocery store smell?
Oh, yeah, it's a very specific smell, but...
Yeah, so I'm going for this aura of this, like, this grocery store, this, like, errand, this place you want to get in and out of. And,
those cleaning products.
Oh, yeah.
That aisle.
Oh,
yeah,
I can't go there.
I mean, either. Yeah, that would be... And
so I'm going to offer in this store 4 different kinds of crochet pasta. And I labeled them out here too. I'm doing spaghetti, thin spaghetti, vermicelli, and a gluten-free pasta. Just feel a little inclusive. And I'm going to package them each in these 1.5-ounce bags, as well as sell individual pastas. And right now, these are all prototypes, so I'm experimenting with what kind of vessel to put this in. I was thinking really small, like plastic bags, but I also got these tins, which I think are really funny, because they like present this thing like this candle or this scent or this artisan product with good inside. It's just fun.
pasta, yeah.
So I'd love to know what you guys think of that. I've also bought these like hang tabs, which are very, well, I guess another side is these handmade products. You either see like artisan craft fairs, you know. I am interested in how those juxtapose with the food industry as well. And so I'm really looking at the way things are packaged, lip balms, Burt's Bee candles, all this like sort of higher, more valued versions of things we need. So I was looking at those hang tabs. Those are cute for like little vintage boutique stores and stuff. And so that was just something to show my process. I thought about those, how funny it is to label each individual pasta, maybe date it or something. But I think at this point I've landed on these bags. And I've done a very preliminary packaging design for them, which I blew up here so folks can take a look at that and tell me what they think about it. I do plan on partnering with a graphic designer to sort of fix things a little more, but right now I'm trying to figure out the content of the packaging, so I'd love some feedback. Also, let's see, what else do we do? That is a napkin with crochet instructions from the workshop I did. Everyone got a napkin. And those are moldy ones. So they're
Question here.
that's it for this one. Oh, yes.
Nava, you had said earlier that you might let people pay what they wanted to pay. Were you still
Oh, yes.
entertaining that?
I'm
idea?
sorry.
I thought
Yeah.
that was very
I'm like
interesting.
totally off track.
What they would
This
value it.
Yeah, so this proposed store idea within a gallery space, I'd love to leave some kind of drop box with an envelope or a questionnaire or something where people can take one and fill out how much they paid and what product. And I think I want to leave it anonymous to kind of get a little more truth to what people would pay. So
I saw that done one time. It's very
Really?
interesting if you had a video camera to see what people are doing. Because in Marshall there had a Christmas tree place, and the same thing, it had a sign, pay what you want. Take a tree. I'm like,
yeah,
it was amazing. You know, and write on the paper what you paid.
yeah. And I don't know, did some people look at that and be like, I'm going to pay $1 and
Well,
get this
I was
awesome
the only one
tree?
there when I got there. I said, well, I'm paying what I think you should pay for a tree. I don't know what
Yeah.
we pay for.
So I'm interested to see like when someone looks at this product that I have, as an artist, I've put so much time and energy into it, and I think the facts on the back of the packaging make that pretty evident. I'm interested to see how that choice is made. And obviously I can't interview someone about that because, you know, when you're talking about your choices, then they become a little, I don't know, it's what?
Defensive.
Defensive, yeah. Or like, oh, you know, like, now I'm talking to the person that made it, like maybe I'm going to pay more. So I'd like to leave some sort of box on the wall with an envelope that you can just write simply what you paid and what you took. Put the money in the envelope or no, and drop it in. And just to keep like some sort of register of that. So yes, thank you so much for bringing that up because that's a pretty important idea. That's how I'm collecting my data as to what someone would pay. So that's kind of this wall and the premise of my store or my project. Yeah, so then over here at these two tables, I'm sort of displaying the process. So at this big white table, if anyone wants, I would love to boil a pot of pasta and have people try to crochet some and hang out for a little bit and experiment with that process. And then you can keep it and try it out. And there's the pasta you crocheted. I won't add it to the mix because it's sanitation. But so we'll have the crocheting at that table, and then I put the product I'm using there. And then after that, on the far end of this brown table, I pin them like with the stitch all stretched out, ready to dry. And once they're dried, then they get moved to like the bulk tray, which I try to leave them for an additional 2 days, just to make sure that like there's no moisture in them, so they don't mold or anything. And then I will package them in 1.5 ounce bags, and then put the labels on. So I just kind of laid out my process because I didn't have a lot of things to show you. So my process is there, and then also on this white table is a bowl of really odd looking things. Those are my business cards. Feel free to have one.
Noodle, I mean your spaghetti, what is it? How long is it still kneadable?
Yeah, about an hour.
1 hour.
But I try, because they start to like bloat and then fall apart. If anyone's had like leftover noodles the next day,
It's hopeless.
they're just kind of a weirder consistency, and they don't want to crochet as well. So typically an hour, but what I'll do is I'd rather work in small batches and do like, I know like the size I take is about half a serving at a time, and that's maybe like anywhere from 40 to 60 noodles, and that'll take me like 30 minutes. So I try to do it in 30-minute things, also for my own sanity.
Yes.
So yeah.
So
you mentioned sanitation, and you said you dry them out so they don't mold. Is there anything else you do? I mean, you boil these noodles, and then you wear gloves, or?
I don't wear gloves because it is nearly impossible to crochet with gloves. But I wash my hands between every batch, and I like try not to touch anything else while I'm crocheting. So there is an element of trust. You do have to say like, okay, this is artist made. This was not made in a sterile kitchen, factory, whatever. So there's definitely a level of trust in that. And so once the noodles are dried, you could take them home and reboil them, and they taste pretty much the same consistency.
do they lose the shape when you do that?
No, they definitely will get a little looser, but that's because the whole noodle expands.
You know, I mean, this could actually be like a marketable product. This, you know, I mean, you got every kind of bizarre pasta out there. This could be like Nava's, I don't know what. I could see that. Next to the elbow macaroni and the, you know, angel hair. There's this totally. Right.
Well, but yeah, so sanitation, there is a level
have
of
issues
trust.
with it. If you sell this for something for people to eat, won't there be issues with maybe the health board?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have to
permits.
go through an approval process.
Yeah.
But so what I'm interested in is, for a long time, when I first started this whole thing, and I talked a lot about doing performance, I was really fixated on the physical act of consuming labor. And I needed people to eat it. And I started making all these crazy performances. How can I get people to eat these noodles? And how can I get people to trust me, to like do this and eat this? Because people don't want to. It's kind of weird. You know, a lot of you looked at those plates and were like, oh, I'll pass, and that's okay. Like, and so for a long time I think I had a series of maybe 6 or 7 like failed performances because I was trying so hard, like how can I make this situation happen? And then I started to realize that I don't think it's someone actually eating the noodle, but the idea that that can be consumed and that is branded as an edible product. And so then whether or not you put it in your mouth, there is the idea of, oh, this would disappear if I ate it. And I think that's more so what I'm after. But if I do want to do some experimental things with my mobile kitchen in the future, I definitely do have to go through some kind of health inspection process. So.
But like in an art gallery context, those rules or whatever don't really apply, right? I mean, I assume that's okay.
I guess, yeah.
You could put some kind of disclaimer on it.
Yeah.
Eat this at your own risk.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Or boil 5 minutes to kill the pathogens.
Yeah.
I mean, once you cook it again, there's not a problem with anybody handling it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Oh.
Right.
Have you ever crocheted with more expensive pasta? or like
Gourmet
artist.
I have crocheted with other brands. In picking this, before I chose Great Value for certain reasons, I wanted to try like everything out there, and so I ate so much pasta for like a whole month because I would buy it, crochet a few, and be like, okay, that's how that brand feels, and it is really different. I've also made my own noodles.
Yeah, when you were talking about the workshop and you said I was making the noodles, that's what the image I had was you like rolling out pasta dough and slicing it up and then when you explained
I did have the KitchenAid attachment.
Oh, cool.
But since then I've bought my own hand crank.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I've been researching a lot of noodle making techniques, and I want to make, it's kind of like a musical instrument, but it's like this box, and you roll out your dough real thin. It's like a box that's strung with guitar strings or thin wire fishing line, and you put your rolled out really thin dough on top of it, and you rolling pin on top, and the rolling pin and the strings slice it. So I've always wanted, I want to make one of those.
Oh yeah, totally.
I want to make one like huge, so I could crochet that strand like so long.
This whole like
so,
vertical
I don't know,
process.
What's the relationship between you and the cheap pasta that you crochet and you and the pasta that you make yourself and crochet and then watch people consume? Did you make pasta that you made and crocheted and then watch people consume it?
Yeah, and it was a very weird mix of emotions watching anyone consume this thing that I made. With the cheaper noodles, it's definitely this level of like, it's like almost pure excitement, like, oh, they tried it. Like, I'm like so fascinated that because what I'm doing in this situation is, I try not to make the work about this because especially with performance and process-based work, it's really easy for the artist to become this sort of like ego, or this centered sort of performer, this all eyes on, you know?
The star.
So I try to like not make my work about the fact that I am giving in my work, but I feel like I'm giving, not only am I giving my labor, but I'm giving food, and this is another thing I did a lot of these performances about, is food is like this gift where you're giving it to someone, you're saying like, this is what you need to exist, and I'm giving it to you. You know, it's an investment in someone's life, and their livelihood, and that's so incredibly profound, and it's like, well, who am I to give that? You know, and me as the artist, I feel like it's easy in making food-related work for others to consume, that like I suddenly slip into the space of like this higher or like godly, and that is not at all the conversation I'm trying to have.
Wonder like.
And so, what?
No, I was just gonna say that people who make a living making food or baking at some level, I wonder if similar emotions or things come up about the process of your livelihood is to make this food, this pie, or whatever that will be consumed.
Mm-hmm.
So.
There's so many things that go on in the restaurant business to separate the maker and the consumer, as to like they're trying to give a fine dining experience and really good food, and it's not about the relationship between cook and customer. which is like so sad to me because it's such a profound act. But I think I'm getting a little sidetracked. Your question was
Pasta.
how I feel when someone eats the cheaper pasta and someone eats the pasta I made. So with the cheaper pasta, it's excitement that someone has accepted this gift or like trusted me enough to eat it. And with the handmade pasta, it's kind of like I want to make sure they're appreciating it. Like there's some other value in it where I'm like, I want to make sure that like they understand this, or I want to make sure they understand the situation. Whereas with the cheaper stuff, when I saw your children eating it, they were so excited. They were like, "Oh, pasta!" Like, and I was like, "Yeah!" I don't know what I would feel given different circumstances, watching different people eat it. Does that answer that?
Thanks.
Well, I guess I've got a few questions really, but the first thing I wonder is the way you present it, you know, because obviously if you present me with something that looks appetizing versus something that doesn't, or if it's just plain pasta,
Yeah.
you know, like a noodle versus a noodle, and this noodle's awesome.
Yeah.
And if your philosophical question at large is more of one that's about just the impermanence of having created this aspect, this thing, and then people eat it, or if it's more a question of, like, you know, do people appreciate the labor, but does that translate into, I'm hungry and this thing is looking good and there's tomato sauce on it?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just curious about how you think about the way that the utility versus presentation, and how that really translates into like the psyche of the person that's walking up to a bowl of pasta. You know, whether it's food, is it art, is it delicious, is it pretty, do I care, or is it going to be gone tomorrow? You know, so I guess I'm trying to answer those questions myself.
Kind of see if I'm interested in the ephemerality of it or the reasons why someone would be attracted to it.
Yeah, I mean, is it a commercial aspect of like this labor? There's a lot of labor in this cheap material, and it's become this great thing because of the you know, man-woman hours that's been put into it, or is it more of the ephemerality of the fact that I've created this beautiful thing and now it's being consumed, and that's where I get my rocks off?
Well, I think I would say the latter of the two, but subtract the beauty. Because this work, to me, it is beautiful. I think that there's something beautiful about a crochet stitch, especially the foundation stitch, the chain stitch, which is the only one I'm using. But I don't think most minds would look at this thing and be like, oh, that's beautiful. You know? And so like maybe some people would see, yeah, it's not beautiful. I'm not trying to make it beautiful, but so yeah, the idea that there was an exchange happening, that I put forth this labor and you consumed it. That's the basis of it, and I'm interested in where it goes from there. Does that person consume it with a thank you? Does that person consume it, but their exchange back is monetary, or do they not consume it because they can't bear to eat something I worked that hard on? So I think I'm interested in that fundamental exchange of like, I consumed, like I made it, you consumed it, and then what? And I think I'm trying to talk in the language you're using, but does that answer any of that or clear anything up?
I think so, yeah. I'm just curious as your motivation, really. So.
Yeah.
So it's the cheapest pasta you can find, and you're putting some work in it. And then the person is going to have to say, well, it's still the cheapest pasta. Right?
Yeah.
So the logical mind say, why to bother about kneading the pasta?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's why would I do this?
Yes.
Why would I spend so many hours
Yes.
crocheting this pasta every day?
And not only just crocheting, but coming with a bag and you know, putting it on those needles to dry in the right form, and you know, and then you don't give any sauce. I'm thinking, that's a cheap pasta.
A lot of people have mentioned that, and I think in some of the made-to-order performances I would do with the mobile kitchen, I would ask what kind of sauce and seasoning, and it was like this tiny little dish.
Wait a
But
second.
then I was like, am I making the sauce myself? Am I making fresh pesto every time I do a performance? Like, how labor intensive is it? If I'm using sauce, like, do I need to use Great Value brand sauce? And it just, the condiments were just this whole world that I think is really good to know it's coming, but I don't think I'm at a place, or this work is at a place that I can tackle the condiments yet. But I've had a lot of suggestions, and one of the ones I like is like the spice packet, kind of like the ramen. I think.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think your wife was talking to me about that. Yeah. So I'm wondering, can I make my own blend of spices? But then again, it goes back. Am I buying the cheapest spices? Am I growing the herbs myself?
How
There's a lot of
far?
back and forth.
That's
So
true.
yeah, the condiments is something, and the decorative aspect of it too is something a lot of people have brought up. Like, how can you make this a more desirable product? Because right now it's just like bland, cold noodle.
I could see it as like a community fundraiser type of thing, like your fancy noodle mac and cheese community dinner. Pay
Totally.
$25 a plate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Because this
true.
stuff is cool.
Pasta handmade.
Yeah.
Handmade pasta.
And I
And
think
crochet.
Yeah.
And crochet pasta.
because it's something unique and hard to produce. You need a small scale to generate anything, beyond a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, how long are you planning to work on this project?
Yeah.
As long as it takes me to fill the store.
Oh wow.
Aha.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel the appreciation when I see anything somebody makes that's especially unique. If you see somebody making something out of glass or whatever, I think about what they've done and their process and, what energy they put into it. Part of themselves, really, because I'm a painter and I know what I put into what I do. So even crocheting that, there's a part of you and all that stuff. And maybe a lot of people think that way when they see something. If they saw a dinner, like he said, of homemade pasta crocheted, it was like, wow, I don't want to eat it because it's so unique, and somebody really put a lot of work into that. But it would be an honor to be served that, to me, of all the work that went into it.
I made a Christmas log one year. That was at the beginning when I was with my husband, and so I gave the log to my parents-in-law, mom and dad of Dave, and it had the Christmas log, like a trunk with little branch on the side, and I made those little dwarf, things, and cut the wood, and then I made those little mushroom with meringue. Okay, so then I brought that to my parents-in-law.
Wait, what is? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Christmas
what
log.
is.
A Christmas log, it's a cake that you eat at Christmas,
But
and
it looks like a tree.
yeah, it looked like a branch. It's a log. That's why it's called a log. And it really looked like like you put the cream inside, and so it looked like rings,
Yeah.
And then on top of it, it really looked like the bark. And then you put all the decoration and I made it pretty long. And branch, and that was very, it was very intensive and all this very elaborate, and so we have, and nobody wanted to eat it, and it was good. It was a chestnut log with a mocha frosting, and it was really good.
I know, right?
And they
It's like,
didn't
give me some,
dare
man.
to eat it. And they said, no, it's too beautiful, so they put it in a room that they had next, that was a cooler because it was in Toledo, Ohio, so it was cooler room, and they kept that thing for a week.
I cannot believe it. And then it went bad.
So
That's the thing.
Yeah.
put your dress on.
like that.
50 seconds.
Spaghetti.
If you're someone who knows how to crochet and does it well, the technique I developed is like, you're doing it wrong, you know? But I'll show it to you guys later.
Kitchen hunty déco. Allergy warning.
Is this everyone?
Probably all that's coming down. There's one more, she's coming.
And then cooking 12 minutes.